Big Oak Wolf Sanctuary is a faith-based rescue located in Green Cove Springs, Florida, and has been in existence for 11 years. The sanctuary is named after the hundreds of massive oak trees that cover the entire 5-acre property. Averaging 5 dozen wolves and wolf dogs and having rescued over 120 in their 11-year history, it is one of, if not the largest wolf sanctuary in the United States. Big Oak is known for the innovatively designed structures that accommodate these animals' unique needs. The facility features 23 large wolf enclosures, averaging 10,000 square feet per enclosure, each including a pool house and large pool, a 12-foot high platform so the animals can get up high and look out across the property, and either an above or below ground den to protect them from the seasonal elements.
The sanctuary is a place where these shy animals can be exactly who and what they are without having to live within any silly man-made doggy rules or experiencing the fear associated with enduring public tours.
With the popularity of Twilight and the Game of Thrones series, the number of young wolf and wolf dog owners has exploded. Ironically, the allure of owning a wolf does not exist in the mind of mature, responsible, others-focused adults to the degree that it does in the immature, irresponsible, self-focused young person. This has resulted in the majority of these animals being owned today by people who are not only unable to meet their needs, but can't even see their needs because at this stage in their lives everything is still about them and how they're perceived by their peers.
What these young people want is a wolf that behaves like a dog because they think it's cool. But when they discover that it naturally behaves more like a wild animal than it does a dog, and it won't do what they want it to do, most are too prideful at this stage in their lives to admit that they're way out of their league, or totally unprepared to manage the stronger, more intense natural drives of wolves than most wolf dogs, and have made a big mistake in buying one. This is where the neglect and abuse of these animals begins, and it negatively impacts them for life. Wolves' brains are 30% larger than those of dogs, and they're actually more like people than they are dogs. So the abuse of trying to make them behave like dogs has a far more destructive mental and emotional effect on them.
As a result, 95% of the wolves and wolf dogs that Big Oak rescues come from this category of young, immature owners. Unfortunately, most arrive here terrified of people and have many deeply rooted abuse issues that often take years to work through. Some simply cannot recover, and due to them usually being fed cheap, dry dog food instead of the raw meat that their bodies require, most arrive here extremely underweight and as a result can be quite dangerous. But bringing these neglected and abused animals back to health and happiness is something in which Big Oak Wolf Sanctuary co-founders John and Deborah Knight and their awesome volunteers have a special gift.
From the second they arrive here, we begin interacting with them on their level and terms and according to their rules, allowing them to be exactly who and what they are naturally. And if out of fear they bite us, we never make them feel as if they did anything wrong. Rather, we continue to nurture them with love as if nothing even happened. This prevents them from thinking that their defensive responses to us will prompt retaliation. In other words, no matter how many times they misjudge our intentions due to their abusive past, and out of fear hurt us, we continue to extend them the grace to do so without consequence until they realize there's no threat to them here and that nothing they can do can cause us to hurt them. Once they realize they have nothing to fear here and that nothing they do to us out of fear will cause us to treat them any other way than with love and nurture, they soften and begin to desire our presence. Once they've achieved that level of comfort, we're able to develop intimacy with them, a genuinely loving relationship, and their quality of life increases. That's what we do here. The process of working within each rescued animal's rules and issues as they slowly come to realize that they're free to be exactly who and what they are here and that you adore them exactly as they are is one of the most heartwarming adventures someone can experience.
As a faith-based organization founded on biblical principles, John and Deborah are adamantly against the exploitation of animals for money or putting them in any situation that causes them to alter their natural way of doing things. And since wolves and most wolf dogs are naturally shy animals that avoid people, Big Oak Wolf Sanctuary is not open to the public and does not exhibit the rescued animals for money. So they've struggled financially more than most as they do not have the revenue that many sanctuaries who exhibit the animals have.
We'd love to show people these beautiful animals, show them just how different they are than dogs, and let them experience the animals as we do. But unfortunately, the presence of unfamiliar people alone puts tremendous fear in most of them, which prevents them from seeing our interactions with them as they are when they're not around. Just the presence of unfamiliar people causes wolves and most wolf dogs an enormous amount of stress, thus destroying their sanctuary environment here and our relationships with them as well. So it's actually impossible for people to see in person the relationships we've built with them and the quality of life they enjoy here in any other way than video. This is why we share pictures and videos of each rescued animal on the Big Oak Wolf Sanctuary Facebook page. It's our way of giving the people who follow us in our work ongoing opportunities to see the progress each rescued animal is making here and, of course, the conditions they're living in.
Aside from addressing the rescued wolves and wolf dogs' emotional needs, which involve spending quality time interacting with all but a handful of the 5 dozen who reside here twice a day, the physical work of maintaining a facility of this size is a daunting task. While there are 8 or so volunteers that help on one weekend day per week, there's only one volunteer at the sanctuary during the week, and that volunteer only comes for 4 hours, 4 days a week. So needless to say, there's not a whole lot of time left over to deal with the physical work of making repairs. But after 11 years here, the repairs are not only adding up, they're beginning to take more time and money away from the actual care of the animals. Since Big Oak doesn't exhibit these reclusive animals for money, they've never been able to generate the revenue necessary to adequately fund this massive operation. As a result, they had to rely heavily on donations of used fencing left over from highway and general construction projects to build these 23 enclosures. And without the financial support to hire employees, John has had to do most of the fencing and heavy construction work involved in building the pool houses and platforms himself during the weekdays, and delegate the cleanup work to the weekend day volunteers. To safely and properly contain the 5 dozen rescued wolves and wolf dogs in the 23 large enclosures here, the sanctuary has to perform daily maintenance on the over 2 linear miles of the old 8 and 10 foot fencing, another 2 linear miles of the dig guard fencing that lays on the ground on the edges of the fencing, and approximately 90 8 and 10 foot gates that provide access to the enclosures and pathways. So now, 11 years since the sanctuary's beginning, most of the fencing, fence posts, and gates need to be replaced, and done so with the proper fencing for these types of animals in order to eliminate the time and expense of daily maintenance. This is a very expensive project, but it has to be done, so the sanctuary and these animals desperately need your help. Most shelters and animal control organizations are not legally allowed to adopt out wolf dogs. As a result, places like Big Oak Wolf Sanctuary are overwhelmed with these animals. The number of wolves and wolf dogs Big Oak has rescued has increased considerably each year, and with the popularity of the Twilight and Game of Thrones series on the rise, the number needing rescue next year is sure to be even greater than it was in the previous year. These animals will need a place to go, and from what I've seen and experienced here, there's no better place for them to go. As someone who's been to many wildlife facilities across the country, I can honestly say that the dedication to meeting the needs of each individual animal is on a whole new level, and the animals here are healthier and happier than any place I've seen. Please consider helping Big Oak Wolf Sanctuary raise the money they need to rebuild the facility so that they can continue to provide sanctuary for these awesome and majestic creatures.